Hey, what's up, guys? This is Andrew Smersek with Combat Training. I am today here with Kayla of Tactical Response. Her and Jerry were the instructors when I took immediate action medical. I was just going over my medical bag, the stuff I got in here with her in the order we should set it in. And one thing is that I like all my students always ask me what should I get for medical, and I've been like, I'm gonna put together a list, but I was like, oh shit, I got Kayla here, we'll have her help out. And the funny thing is too, is last time that happened, I was like, first thing that comes to mind of what, like, you know, if we're trying to be able to solve any problem, and even if you don't have the training, you can hand it to someone else who does, right? And sometimes the directions are written on it, like if it's a bandage type thing, it's not that crazy complicated with some of it. But I looked around at all the kits because I was still trying to find like the best one, and I still came back to the VOK because I'm like especially for the money and the amount of things it does, there's a lot of great kits, but they're always lacking in something. You know, this is the one that I like because it does have everything and they don't hold back. So go ahead, take it away.
Okay. So the way that we put together the medical kit was to handle the 5 Bs. And the first B is your gun. Like it's bad guys. Okay, so we start at bleeding. So the most important thing, the thing that's going to kill you the fastest is bleeding. So inside the box, got gloves to protect you, and then a tourniquet. And I carry a second tourniquet that's already opened and out of the package, outside of this packaging, in my bag, to where like once I get my gloves on, all I have to do is reach in there and pull that out. And like being realistic, 99% of the time it's me and my 3 kids. We're hanging out, we're in the car, like everywhere. So like I don't even have my gloves on top of that tourniquet because that tourniquet is for one of us. And I'm not going to use, like, I'm not going to take the time to put on gloves for one of us.
Nope.
So, but for anybody else that you're not actively trading bodily fluids with, like even your mom, your dad, like we all know what they did in the 80s, okay?
Yeah. No, for real. They don't want to tell you. You know?
So gloves and a tourniquet. Again, you're good. I think of everything from a mom's perspective. So I like elastic tourniquets better because they work on kids, dogs, everybody. I have seen these on some bigger guys not do well, but as far as like the widest variation, these, and we have talked about switching these to the rapid tourniquets like that. The rapid tourniquet's my favorite. It's this tourniquet right here,
the TK4, and those were originally the Marines had them, right?
One of the people.
Okay, I keep hearing about like Marines used to have these when I watch medical videos. It's not like the one you see all the time anymore, but they work good. And I find that these ones are a little bit easier to apply, but still good to have that. And and it fits anywhere. Like,
it does.
It's tiny.
Like my dog is 8 pounds. The whole dog is 8 pounds.
The whole dog.
The whole dog. And like her legs are like this big around. And when you have to compress that to that, like the windlass style tourniquets aren't going to work. So that's why we use elastic in the VOKs, is because it does go from infant to elderly. And the windlass style tourniquets will bottom out. They're wonderful on adults. They're great. I spend 99.9% of my time with 3 kids. So my preferences are a little different. But tourniquets, that covers your big bleeds. The next B, breathing, we have a nasopharyngeal airway, or an NPA, and this is for adults. I have a separate peds bag in my car that has NPAs and the ET machines that you have that'll hold their tongue forward, and then the NPAs just go in through their nose and go behind their tongue to still maintain an airway. And even if it's a car accident, whatever, you don't have to move the person's spine at all. So you can put this in while still keeping everything else intact and keeping them breathing without having to worry about moving them.
So, okay, so with the other one, the one that goes in the mouth, do you have to move their spine?
No, because you can move the jaw independently.
Okay, all right, yeah.
Yeah. As long as you, like, that's why, have you seen the head tilt chin lift?
Yeah, we did that, yeah.
But we did the jaw thrust if we're worried about their spinal.
Okay,
or spine. Yeah. So if you're just moving this, you're not moving their spine.
Okay, cool.
But those require hands. These, like, once you have these in, you can go back to doing something else.
Yeah.
I've got...
And you have to sit there with them.
So these do come in different sizes. The 28 French is kind of like the one size fits all. Everybody who's ever tried on anything one size fits all know that it's really not. Okay. But the way to measure these is the trumpet end, hold it to your nose, and the back end should touch your earlobe. And so the 28 French is the perfect size for me. We've had guys that were really big or tall, and they needed like the 36. So with these, I think, the 30, the 36, although those are bigger, and the bigger the number, the bigger the size. It's the opposite of needles, because, you know, the bigger the needle number, the smaller the size. Like, the French is the opposite of gauge. So
so that's one thing to keep in mind, too, is that if you're a bigger dude, like, you probably just need to have your own NPA. And maybe even Sharpie on that. Like, this is for me because I'm this big, you know?
So that's a mid-range, one size fits all, as long as you don't have abnormally, like, large head.
So we had
thick neck.
We had bad guys, bleeding, breathing.
We're still on breathing. Okay, but I said we were still. My needle's not in here.
All right, I got one.
Yep.
Hey, a good thing we caught that.
Yeah, the last class we had, we were missing some stuff, so I'll grab one when we go out there.
I'm like, what do we do to reorganize? All right, so I got yours in there, and I got some others.
Okay,
but let's just talk about the one that you guys had first.
So, the needle, these are for, the big fancy word is tension pneumothorax. You may need these if there is any kind of crush injury, blunt force trauma, or penetrating injury to its neck to belly button. Because if there's lung damage inside, if there's a hole on the outside going in, you can suck in air that way. Okay, so that's why we seal it. And the plastic itself is part of the trauma kit. We've got plastic and duct tape that you see, so we can seal it. I do recommend getting a chest seal, because if anybody has ever tried to tape with gloves on, it sucks. But we're also trying to keep the price point manageable.
Yeah. And the, we haven't talked about it yet, but the H-band, that's good plastic right there, too. So there's a lot.
Yep. So you seal neck to belly button, you're sealing it, and then you have to pay attention to the person's breathing, because like I said, if there's a wound, it can pull air in. So you stop that sealing it. But if it's penetrated, it can also have clipped your lung. So just because the hole is sealed on the outside doesn't mean that every time you take a breath that it's not leaking out into your chest cavity. And it works the same way with, like, blunt force trauma and crush injuries. Is, like, just because you can't physically see that there's a wound, like if somebody has like I told you about the patient I had at the jail, DUI, no airbag, and he collapsed in around the steering column. That was the first time in my nursing career, the only time in my nursing career, I've ever seen actual flail chest. There were no visible external injuries, but every time he took a breath, it would go, like, that's what his ribs did. And I was like, hey, he going in an ambulance to the ER. So we got him out. As soon as he got to the ER, they life flighted him out. So just because there's not external injuries doesn't mean there aren't internal injuries, because his ribs punctured his lungs, lacerated his liver, and he was bleeding out internally.
Yeah.
So we're not going to fix the bleeding out internally part, because you can't put, the only place you put tourniquets is on the extremities.
No, I'm sorry. I'm interested. If someone's beating on someone, punches their ribs a shitload, no blood on the outside, can that happen too?
Yes.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah, if you break the ribs, like, although it takes a significant amount of force to break, but it's possible. Like,
well, you get stomped out.
Yeah, you get stomped out there. Yeah, it's absolutely possible for it to do stuff, and his just happened to lacerate his liver. And like, he wasn't even bruising yet. Okay, so like, anything here, no, understanding mechanism of injury is important. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
All
right.
But so breathing.
Decompression needle. Yep.
You got the decompression needle. If they need this and you don't do it, they're going to die. And that's why we include it, because we do build this kit for you to carry for yourself and your family. And if you just happen to be able to save somebody else's life, great. But this is for you and your family.
Yeah.
And I'm not worried, like, even on the side of the road, like, it's a needle. I don't know if it would be worth it to me to let somebody die to avoid a lawsuit.
Yeah.
Like, I don't.
Yeah, people always freak out about that, but it's like, okay.
Like, we already carry a gun
you're
every
fucking
day.
crazy having that. Yeah, like, you really have a gun. Like, yeah, you could shoot the bad guy perfectly and the round still goes through him. I know, you got the cool rounds that don't do that, but did you go test it on people? Don't think so. You don't really know.
So,
so if you need it and you don't use it, you will fucking die. So get over that.
Yeah.
Okay?
And then, so that takes care of bleeding, breathing. The next one is brain. There's not a whole lot you can do, so that come take immediate action medical, a tactical response, and we can show you what to do about the brain.
Yeah, even if you have prior medical training. I had combat lifesaver in the Marine Corps, and we go over it again and practice stuff. Ton of stuff I picked up, and it's from a different different perspective. Yeah. I'm sorry. Not remember words, but yeah, different perspective and held to a standard. Okay.
And then the last B is body, and that's everything else. And that is when you can go in and pack, put bandages on. This can double as another tourniquet if you do it tight enough.
Yeah.
It can also work on amputations. There are ways to help maintain somebody from going into shock if they have eviscerations, which is where they cut like belly organs and gross stuff comes out.
Stuff spews out.
Yeah.
So yeah, because of that, you want to keep it moist, not as in like pour stuff on it, but like as in
put it in
occlusive.
this.
Yeah.
Put it in this, like, whoop,
yep.
And then cover it up.
Don't go shoving it back up in there. All right.
Only tell them what you want them to do. Leave them out. Leave them out. Yeah.
Keep it from getting air to it.
Yep.
So.
Because whenever they get to the hospital, if they have an evisceration, the doctor's literally going to cut them just a little bit wider, pull everything out, and then they hang it up and go over every inch of your intestines, because if you leak fecal matter into your stomach and bloodstream, you go septic pretty fast.
Ooh.
So they have any injury to your belly, that they're going to have to do that.
So once again, this is the VOK Ventilated Operator Kit. Gloves. TK4 tourniquet, duct tape, different plastic things to create seals, okay, decompression needle, NPA, and then we have gauze, H bandage, and actually I want to say, we had a medic in Advanced Pistol with us. He ended up applying to one of these to me after I applied my tourniquet. I was waiting for a bit. They had Joey take it off. I was like, oh, thank God. Fuck. It was as tight as a tourniquet without how you put the H bandage on. And then, was alcohol? Yeah, the alcohol, we usually have safety pins in there. Again, this was just parts of one that I had put in my bag. Right now, medical supplies are scarce, and I'd pulled stuff out to add, but I'd never leave the house without at least 2 tourniquets and a gun. Yep. So it does have this also? Yeah, it does have, it comes with that. Everything that you see here comes with Do you mind explaining the safety pin also?
Okay, so the safety pin, you've got some right there.
Yep.
Just
from
a normal
our class.
Normal little safety pin, and what I'm about to tell you may freak you out, but it's better than dying. A safety pin can be used to secure an airway. You can take the person's tongue and go in between those two big veins right there. Like, okay, you don't want to poke any of them, but you go in between the middle of the tongue and you safety pin it to their lip. Yes, it's a little bit more invasive than something else, but your mouth and eyes are the fastest healers on your body. People get that stuff pierced all the time. Okay? And if you've got multiple casualties and you can't put them into the recovery position and stuff like that, and that's all you've got, it's better than letting them die.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
So it can be used to secure an airway. It can be used to keep that, like if you have to use that on a kid or somebody that's smaller, to pin it not to their nose, but put a pin through it so that it doesn't go too far down.
Oh yeah.
And they're still breathing correctly. Like there's a bunch of different uses for it. That's the main reason that I have it though, is like backup. Like. And
so, all right, so basically, because people always ask me, "What? I need a medical kit. What should I get?" Right, and this is the one I'm telling them to get. If we're going to add to it, I think we would both say first thing should be a second tourniquet, right?
And chest seals.
So now tourniquets, real quick. I guess this is gonna be a long video if you don't mind.
Yeah.
All right. So Rat's tourniquet. James always says, the only place it doesn't work is on the internet. Which is so fucking true. It's real funny too because the only video I've ever taken off my channel was the one about this.
You were shit talking it, weren't you?
No, I wasn't shit talking
really?
it. I wasn't shit talking it. The thing I had realized is I put it on incorrectly.
Oh,
I got training. I was like, I should take that video down, not because of the embarrassment. I mean, I've left up plenty of embarrassing shit. But
no, but it made it.
I don't want people to look and go, "That's the correct way."
Yeah.
So, get trained and watch the Immediate Action Medical DVD. They use a TK4 and a cat in that, but just watch that. Anyways, the thing I was trying to say, every time I see people shit talking on this tourniquet, they're applying it incorrectly, doing stuff like wrapping it in the wrong direction. They are not doing, they're not keeping tension to get it tight. Huge gaps. Stuff like they put it too low. Like they don't know what they're talking about in the first place. So if you don't have medical training, like you just start there, okay? But yeah, they work. Talking about, I know y'all have mentioned that these tend to work best in the force on force scenarios during the fight. I watched that recently too, where a guy is trying to put on a cat tourniquet. I like them. I like them a lot. I like the Recons better. Wish they could still make them, but yeah. But
do small redesign.
For me, like it was, you can just with it get unraveled, wrap it up. No big deal. You really only need 2 wraps to stop the blood flow. The rest is just kind of extra.
So can I tell? First off,
yeah,
I've been using these since all the hate come out and defending these since all the hate come out for years. I've been teaching immediate action medical for 15 years now.
God damn.
Yep.
How old were you when you started?
I was 18 years old when
Oh shit, that's fucking badass. God damn.
Yeah, I was 18 years old when I started teaching it. I started taking it when I was 16, 15 or 16.
Okay.
So I've been using them since the first one come out.
Yeah.
Okay. I've never had a failure when I applied it. I've never had one fail. And like I said, they are amazing. The reason that I doubled down when I become a mom, like we were talking about, these work on small kids, and if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So I'm not going to waste gloves because, again, medical stuff is hard to come by right now. He's not bleeding, but if I was applying this to somebody that was bleeding, I would put gloves on. So the way that you put them on, like you go up and then you grab right here, you're going to pull it through and then go the opposite way. You can start applying tension to this immediately.
Yep.
Okay, so we're going high and tight. We're getting it. If I needed to, I could stop right here, and then you get it hooked in. It's a little bit more difficult. There we go.
Yep.
So, in my head, and we'll have to call somebody else in here to take that off because you can't take it off and I can't take it off.
I'm trying to make a long video. All right.
In my head, my kids are at the school bus, and I picture a bus full of kids. If I can do 2 wraps per kid, what did that take me? 10 seconds, 15 seconds, something like that?
Taking your time and explaining it. Yeah.
Took me 10 or 15 seconds. It's a minute and a half to 3 minutes before you bleed out. How many kids can I get to if it takes me, with the TK4, I have to get it to completion. So if it takes me 20 seconds a kid, I double the number of kids that I can save with this one. And that was the selling point for me, because I've got 3 kids myself, so 30 seconds per kid. Okay, and Gatlin would be the first one to get one because he has the smallest blood volume. So he is the least amount to lose, right? So Gatlin, then Emmeline, then Gage. Even though Gage is my favorite, like I have a favorite kid, I ain't ashamed of it. But even with the 3 of them, like max 30 seconds, and I've still got all 3 of their tourniquets on before 90 seconds. Completed. So, and that is the full 30 seconds. I could like have it done in 30 seconds for all 3 kids.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm the anxious mom, like, okay, I'm doing this in the dark, like on the side of the road at 3 a.m. by myself with 3 kids, and we've just been in an accident. And I can still get that on. And like worst case scenario, it takes 30 seconds per kid, and I can still get it on and save all 3 of my kids. Yeah,
and like for people who say, it don't work and whatever, like I don't know if you can see, but this hand is definitely white, and this one is not. Right? I've heard people talk about like, oh, it damages tissue. Like I practice with this guy a lot. I'm fine. It doesn't.
Like, there is always going to be 1 in a million. Like, oh fuck, it messed them up.
Yeah.
But there are guys that were getting blown up in Afghanistan, having a tourniquet put on, being flown to Germany, and that was when the tourniquet was released. These were built to go one on top of each other like this. So the wider it is, the less painful those are one of the more painful tourniquets to have put on.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's so thin. But they are so fucking effective, I don't care.
Yeah.
You're like, your pain is not going to kill you. Bleeding out will.
I'm going to let you talk about these other ones while I go get Shelton to take this one off. And here's the thing too, guys, for practice, tourniquets hurt like crazy. I'm in pain.
How about we show them how to do it if you're having to practice by yourself, and then you can do it in here.
All right.
How did I do it? How did I show you?
All right. If you're practicing by yourself, all right, hang on. Let me explain the thing. I don't know if there's a video of it. I've heard it is. I haven't watched it, but there's a story. Cop practice disarming a guy, right? Constantly. And you hand the gun back so you can practice again. Give it back, right? So then
I've seen the video. It does exist.
Okay.
And
we'll link to it in the description.
I don't know if you can find it anymore.
Okay.
Because YouTube got liberal for a while.
Ooh, okay. All right. Well, if I can, or comment to remind me, or no, comment the video. You guys do the work for me. Thank you. All right.
Yeah, find the video.
So,
convenience to a robbery.
Right?
Yeah.
Disarms the guy. Hands the gun back to him.
To the robber.
Yep. And then, hands it back. How many times do you hand it back?
The 3rd time is when he finally, takes it and keeps it.
So, the thing with this, and this is a big thing I learned in Me Action Medical, don't go, it's on, ow, and take it off right away. So have a separation, okay? So let's say I'm in this room, I do my drill, get my tourniquet on, right? Now I'm gonna leave that room to another designated location. You can even, Jerry was talking about, have a script written out that you can read off. The way I practice myself is I go, okay, this is practice. This is just a drill. I am not in any real danger. I am now going to take off my own tourniquet, and then I take it off.
And it is important that you say every word every single time, and don't let yourself have an out. Like, not, okay, I'm tired, I don't feel like walking to the cabinet. Like, no, that's the only place that you're allowed to take it off.
Yes.
After you say it. Like, you cannot slip up on that if you're doing training by yourself.
Yep. Yeah. And then if you have someone there, have them take it off for you. Now with these ones, I'm gonna say too, look away as you do it, because sometimes you get that bitch super tight and it gets deep in there. And if you're staring at it, I had it happen before. Someone pops out, punched me in the face, and lens fell out. Just look away. That's all you gotta do.
Yep.
So, but yeah, these are awesome. They're inexpensive too. Tactical Response has them for sale. So when you buy your ventilated operator kit and your immediate action medical class, buy some of these. Buy several. You need to have practice ones. I say have at least 2 practice ones.
Yeah, I'll replace this one because we've played with it a couple of times. I will also say I've used these hundreds of times, and the only time that we've ever had to get rid of one is when this got it completely stuck and we had to cut it off the person.
Oh, okay.
Because it worked too well.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's the only time that we've ever gotten rid of these.
I have practice ones, so what we do now is every class we teach tourniquets. We're not spending a ton of time, but it's like kind of like a gateway thing. We talk about like, go take this class or find something, right? And that, at least then they're like, oh shit, I need to understand this and do it the correct way. One of my practice ones we broke, but it was after like I had like 5 practice ones, and that was after like over a year of people doing it over and over. So all right, so Rat's Tourniquet TK4. Next is the Recon.
So the Recon, the way that these work, and you'll understand what I meant when I say it would bottom out on kids, is it can't get any smaller than that right there. My kid, his arm is smaller than that right there, and that's as tight as you can go. You're limited. So, like, do you want to do the other arm, or?
Well,
because there was just a couple of things that I wanted to say about.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
All right. I just didn't want to that's a go time tourniquet. So.
Oh no, then we won't do it. I can show them on this one. So when you put it on,
these are all go time.
Things. Well then we won't. Actually.
But or you could watch the Media Action Mag DVD or come to class.
So when you put this on, this is where you get 90% of the compression.
The initial pull. Yeah.
Yep, the initial pull. If you have to spin this the windlass more than 3 times, you didn't get this tight enough. So, but that's the windlass. I really like the Recons. Again, you can't buy them anymore, but because they had the metal right here, and then the buckles were good. I didn't have a lot of problems with twisting. They had this so that you could put your finger through there, and the cats just don't have that. This is plastic.
They're twice the price too.
Yeah, and they were twice as expensive, but they're still good tourniquets. Like they're really good tourniquets.
I like these ones. The ones I had issued were my practice ones, and like they break, like they're not as good. The old ones, like the 2010 era.
Yep.
This one I like, but yeah, I like the Recons the most. The metal windlass is real nice. And honestly, it's just the construction of the metal windlass and the buckle that I really like. The buckle is huge too, because if you have the older, like the 2010 era ones, they pull apart real easy. What were you saying?
That on some of them, like the Recon, the way that they sewed it was so that this wouldn't twist and loosen the tourniquet.
Oh, okay.
Because on some of those, it wasn't sewn like that, and if it twisted, it might have been the Softy. I'm not sure. You have to be really careful to make sure that you're buying the correct brand, because there's a lot of knockoffs that have the real name on them, but they're not the correct brand. Because if that slips, then it gives you that much more space, and that is enough to loosen the tourniquet.
Let me look at that.
So do you see how they sewed it in? Like it can't slip.
Okay.
It's a bulky enough buckle, it can't slip.
Yeah. And people talk shit on these too, but they're good to go. And like even talking to some people at their company, like they're used around the world, and by like even paramilitary places and by police departments and first responders like EMTs and stuff too, right? Here in America. Again, it's a lot of the stuff on the internet about it is just shit talking. Like I had a guy talk shit on this one, but he carried this, which is not TCCC approved, which I don't care. But then he also has like a cheap ass light on his pistol, and he's like, you try to save money on life support equipment. I'm like, dude, your fucking light is made in China, you know?
Yeah.
Like, get out of here.
Yep.
But all right, so TK4 rats, Recon, cat. Those are my preferred. Do you have any others that you actually would want to add to that?
Yes. Jerry
the new one? Yeah.
just brought in a new one, and let me pull it up on my phone so that I can give the correct information.
Made in Florida, ratchet style.
Yep.
Well, while she's doing that, people are going to ask about soft tees and soft tee wides. Like, go ahead, buy one and try putting it on yourself. I think the newer one has these plastic parts on the side to put the stick in, but even that, trying to pull that tight initially, not easy. I don't even mess with them. I think soft tees are garbage. The Sam tee, the Sam tee, I got to mess with that. I think it's garbage too. I'm not into it personally. So
the Omna Ink, it's a ratchet style tourniquet. So instead of the windlass right here, it has a little ratchet that you just move it. You can do it with your finger, your hand, and tighten it up. And they're legit. They worked. I think Jerry got it on, put it up, and like 3 or 4 clicks, and it was good.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Yeah, and he was saying too that like older people or people who have
carpal tunnel, arthritis.
Yeah, they can work that. Trying to keep the stick with one hand, trying to work that on yourself is not that easy. I've also found that some people who have less hand strength too, they're just better with the rats because of that.
Yep.
It's hard for them to keep that stick going, especially when it gets actually tight. So yeah, that's pretty sweet. Is there any others? I think there's another ratchet style.
Yeah. The RevMed makes some really good ratchet styles. But you can't beat the price.
Yeah.
And it works on all my kids.
I think it's also fair to say you should have some windlass style, like cat style, Recon or cat from North American Rescue, in your bag too, just because if you had to give it to someone to use, they're most likely going to know how to use that one.
See, we see failures with these on people who've actually trained with them in the shoot house more than any other one that I have. Like, I only have these in my Peds Med bag, and that's the bag that I carry in the car. Yeah.
Okay.
And because I can walk them through, like, hey, put your hand through and then pull. I keep a lot of those just kind of tucked in different places in the car because I don't know where I'm going to be.
I bought all the ones you had left.
Yeah. See, there you go. Those are really easy.
Yep.
Like, I have some of these in my bigger medical kits, especially for lower body stuff on dudes. But I'm fine just having these.
Yeah. Okay. Right on. Yeah.
Personal preference, though.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So tourniquets, buy more, and you've said it before. If you could have 2 items for medical on you every day.
The way that I say, if I had to, if you told me, hey, you can carry one thing, a tourniquet. Okay, you can carry 2 things, 2 tourniquets. Yeah. And then we'll start getting into the other stuff. But yeah, 2 tourniquets for sure. And
then probably gauze, ace wraps, and stuff like that.
I'm not huge on carrying gauze, especially if you're trying to save space, because you can use just about anything.
T-shirts and mud. And,
you cannot make this. So the needle, I put a video out on like the top 5 things.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yep.
All right. All right. And then, would you add seals to it if you could have more
That's in my
stuff?
top 5.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
My bad.
That's my top five things.
I'm not like blanking. I haven't
No,
been
you're
paying enough
good.
attention.
That's
All
my
right.
top 5
All right,
things.
the link to that is in the description. You have to
Yeah.
find the other one though.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah, so and so that's the VOK. There's also a pocket VOK.
The pocket VOK is everything in the VOK except the H bandage and the NPA.
Oh, okay, sweet.
So
very, yeah, and like you said, you can do a lot of that stuff, like T-shirts and sweatshirts and shit like that.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm really hoping this helps a lot of people. Hey, and if you just like watch this and go, oh yeah, and then go do something else instead of like ordering a kit, sign up for a class. Someone could die, and that's because you were fucking lazy. So don't be lazy. Seriously, it's like it's just like with fighting pistol. It's like, hey, if you don't carry your gun, like you knew what you had to do. Medical. If you don't carry your medical, and then you come to an emergency, you knew what you had to do.
Quick point on that.
Yeah.
So we talk about PTSD and fighting pistol, and the reason that people get PTSD is because they think of all of the different ways things could have went. So being as prepared as possible, having all the training you can, will actually help limit your risk of PTSD if you do ever have to come across something like this.
And also feeling helpless, right?
Yep.
You're not gonna feel helpless if you got options.
Yep.
And one of mutual friend of ours that I met in Florida, who's been training here for a long time, recently he actually did apply aid to several people in a car accident, not a gunfight, car accident. Then you're more likely to need all this, any of these items than your gun. Okay.
So 2 things on that. Like, first off, you are way more likely to save somebody with this than you ever are to have to save somebody with your gun. And if I'm going to be regaled a hero, I'd much rather it be for this instead of like having to go to court and explain why I had to use my firearm to be the hero.
Yeah.
Like, I don't ever want to have to use any of this stuff, but if you're like, hey, this or that, I'm like, this all day long. So maybe that's why I went to nursing school.
Right on. All right, so once again, Kayla, why don't you close out our video?
Your responsibility to be ready for the fight never ends.
All right, guys, keep fighting communism. Remember that training saves lives.